Hello and welcome. Now that we have built our snowman, let's take a look at how we can change the materials to give him a little bit of color. So right now, the default texture for everything is this basic gray material. If I select the snowman's face, for example, and we select his head, this is our material tab. So I'm just going to select the new button to give us a new material. And it's always good practice to name your material. So since I want this to be the snow material, I'm just going to double click right here and I'm just going to type Snow White. And we are going to take a look at the different options here. Now, this is the color. It's actually not quite white. If you want it to be a perfect white, like when there's fresh snow, which is always so much fun to play in, what you want to do is turn it all the way to every RGB to ones all the way, and that will give you pure white. This snow is a little bit shiny, the texture is shiny, but snow is not really, it's more powdery, so I'm going to dial down the intensity here. Maybe just have like a little bit. I think that looks pretty good. And there are other options. For example, you could select shadeless, which would just give you something that looks more like a plain, it's no shadows, no dimension. This could come in handy for a lot of 2D artwork, but I'm just not going to choose that option. You have tangent shading, which gives you something else, and you know, you could play around with some of these. Um, I think we'll leave that unchecked for this material. You also have transparency. So if you wanted to make the snow invisible for some reason, you could change that alpha there by checking the transparency box. You could also make the material like a mirror and make it completely reflective, but I'm going to uncheck that. So those are just some of the basic options for materials. So now that I have this and I want to make sure I could go through each of these one by one by one, uh, but what we're going to do to streamline this process, I want all three of them to be the same material. So I'm going to select each of the snowballs. So I hold the shift key and then I'm going to select this one last because that's the material I want all of them to be. And I'm going to hit Control L on my keyboard. And from this pull down menu, I will choose materials. And that just saved me a lot of time. We only had three things. It wouldn't have taken that long to individually change them. But imagine if you had 1,000 objects in a scene. This could save you a lot of time. All right, let's take a look at the eyes. The eyes have it, as they say. We want a green color for the peas. And let's pick a color that looks like it could be a sweet pea color. It's a little shiny. Frozen peas don't tend to be that shiny, so we'll bring it down. You can also change the specular color. Right now it's white, but if for some reason you wanted it to be another color, you can see that that changes the reflection there. So maybe we'll play around with that. It kind of does remind me of a pea somehow with that shade of color. And since we have the mouth and the other eye, what we want to do is name this material first, pea green. And now I'm going to select all of the other things. I'll hold the shift key as I right click on each object, including the mouth. Then I'm going to select the eye that has the color last, and I'm going to hit Control L and select materials. Now we need a carrot nose, so we'll grab a new material. We'll name this carrot orange, and we will name this one and find a cool orange color. Now carrots can be kind of shiny. They don't tend to be that shiny in the wintertime, but we'll bring it down a little bit. Maybe we'll change this to a golden color. See how that looks? I think that looks close to a carrot color. And the hat. Remember, we have two different cylinders to make our hat. So let's choose a material. Oftentimes the snowman has a plain black hat, but let's have a little fun. Let's give him a blue hat. And most of the clothing and hat materials are not shiny, so I'm going to turn down the intensity all the way to 0 so that it's a material that absorbs. And let's make that blue a little darker, kind of like a navy blue. I think that looks better. And once again, we need to name that material. And we'll go through another way that you can assign materials. I'm going to select the top of this hat, and from the pull down menu, I'll just choose navy. That's okay for one thing, but once again, if you have lots of things, you don't want to go through that step again and again. Make sure you save early and save often. And last but not least, let's make a color for the stick. So we'll call this wood brown. And we will pick a brown color. It can be a little bit shiny because sometimes wood has a reflectiveness about it. I think that looks good. Okay, and we will choose that and select that from the pull down menu. So there's two different ways you can assign materials. So let's look at how it looks in the camera view. Oh, we can't see our complete snowman, so let's change up the camera view. I think we should put it right about here. So I'm gonna fill up my screen with the view of the snowman I want, and I'm gonna hit Control Option 0. And one thing we want to make sure of is that we have an option to lock camera to view. So we can use the middle mouse button to adjust the view. And if I zoom out a bit, we can see what this might look like if I hit the render button over here, which is the camera. Now it looks like our snowman is completely covered in shadow, so let's make one small adjustment. I think it looks kind of cool like that, but let's make one small adjustment so we can see him better. If I hit the 7 on the numpad and I go to the top view, I can see that that light is actually behind our snowman, so that's why he has that shadowy effect. So if we click and drag that light forward and I render it again, okay, that gives us an idea of what we have so far. Watching.